But I had this cousin Kyle, and let's see, how long has it been? And there was this one time, 8 minutes. He was shaking my brother's hand. He's really big on handshakes, and my brother shook his hand. He's like, "Oh, hey, Richard." Like when he sees you, he shakes your hand. It's a big thing for him. And thank God I never did this, because I always shake someone's hand with some grip. But he's in the military and shit. He's like 6'4", and he's really big. He's really intimidating. And my brother Richard shakes his hand like this, like really weak. And then Kyle went like this, and he grabbed him like right after he shook his hand, like he was gonna turn away. And like he grabbed and firmly held Richard in place. And he really sternly and seriously said, "Don't ever shake my hand like a bitch again." And he said, now shake my hand for real." And then Richard did it and actually shook his hand. But you could tell he actually like really was like offended by it. And he's just the type of guy, and there's many stories to come where he would physically put you in a position. He knows like Aikido and like really fucked up. He's done a lot of like, he really knows physical handling. Like he knows all these different positions to put you in, and it hurts, and there's like no way out of it. He's and then shortly, like the next day, my mom was like, "Wake up, Richard." And he was like, and I was standing out in the hallway. There was something that we needed to do, that we were doing that day, the whole family. And she was like, wake up, Richard." And my cousin Kyle comes walking by. Like after about 30 seconds of doing this, he didn't hesitate at all to go to the kitchen and fill up a pitcher with cold water, with like a shitload. He like dunked the pitcher in the tray and got like, the pitcher was like probably almost halfway full with just ice cubes, and filled it, the whole thing, with water. And then he walked like slowly down the hall. I knew what he was gonna do before he did it, because Richard's room was like really far away from the kitchen. There'd be no other reason why somebody would walk and go out of their way to walk that far with a ice cold pitcher of water. I was like, oh man, I knew what he was doing, and I figured it was because he shook his hand like a bitch. If he wouldn't have done that, I don't think he would have done this. But he's like, he walks past my mom with it. Nobody's saying anything, and I was just following him. And he says to my mom, "This is how you wake somebody up." And he walks up to my brother, and just Richard was sleeping like on his chest, facing this way. He poured like half the water on his head, and then went down his body like this, like with the other half. And Richard was like, "Ah!" And he jumped up, and he went like this, and he like palmed the pitcher out of my cousin Kyle's hand really hard. And he's like, "What the fuck are you doing, asshole?" to my cousin Kyle. And then my cousin Kyle grabs him and puts him in some like back bend, like some position. And he said, he said something like, "Just needed to get your bitch ass up." He said something really like, it wasn't, I don't know, maybe it was that. I can't remember what he said, but it was really like, he's like, I don't think he said bitch ass. I think he said, "Just needed to wake you up," while holding him in some position that's really painful for like 2 seconds, and then he lets him go. Like it was some arm move. I remember he's never done that one on me, but I remember I was standing right there while he did it to Richard. He didn't say bitch ass. He said, "Just needed to wake you up. Let's go." Let's see. Then there was this other time when my brother Greg, he wasn't telling Kyle something he hid something from Kyle. He was just fucking with him. Of course, he was like 7 years old. And Kyle was looking for it, and Greg was like, I hid something from you. You just need to find it. It shouldn't be that hard. And Kyle was like, just tell me where it is. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a watch. It was either a watch or a clip to a pistol to one of his guns. It was either a watch or a clip to one of his pistols. And he's like, just tell me where it is. Don't play around, Greg. And Greg was like, it's in the house somewhere. And then Kyle runs up to Greg, grabs him by the shoulders, just walks up to him, pushes him back, grabs him by the shoulders, and puts his leg like this, like behind his legs, and pushed him back like that. And like, Greg's like going like this underneath of Kyle's ass, and then Kyle's holding both of his arms like this, and he puts his other leg like underneath of him like that, so he can't move his back down at all. And then he's just like, he rips a really big fart like right on his chest, and he's like, you tell me where they are. And he's like, okay, it's in the drawer, like it's in the top drawer, like right there. And then he ripped ass on his chest again, and he's like, you know what? I think if you ever do this, he's like, I'm just gonna hold you like this a little longer, just in case you ever think about doing this to me again. And he was like, they're right there, just let me out. And he's like, I'm just gonna hold you like this a little bit longer, just so you don't ever try that again, because that is not cool. And he fucking ripped ass on his chest like 3 or 4 times, and then he let go of his wrists. Then there was another time, 15 minutes, when my friend Houston was saying something to my friend Houston. Oh yeah, first he tickled Houston until he cried when he was a kid. Houston, I hope you see this video and actually get this far. It was kind of fucked up. Houston was like 11 years old, and my cousin Kyle just started tickling him. He was like grabbing him by the leg and like pulling him back to him and just tickling him. And he did that for like 13 minutes, and then Houston started crying, and he kept doing it. He did it for like another minute after Houston was crying. It was like, holy fuck. And like me and my dad and my mom were just like not saying anything, but probably thinking the same thing. Just like, man, that's kind of fucked up. Being tickled is a form of torture. Being constantly tickled is actually a form of torture. And he was doing it to him for like 13 minutes, if I remember correctly. And then at a later date, he was cleaning his guns. He's cleaning the gun, and he says something to Houston. He didn't respond. That's what it was. Houston was just walking by, leaving, and he was sitting there cleaning his guns. And then Kyle was like, later, Houston didn't say anything. He just kept walking. And Kyle stood up, and he pulled his gun like just before Houston was like getting to the door. And he was like, don't. He pulled his gun and aimed it at him. And he's like, don't walk out of the room while I'm talking to you. And Houston stopped, and I remember my friend Roy was there. And Houston turned, and he was like, sorry, what are you trying to say? And he said, I said goodbye. He's like, don't ever not respond. And that's all he said. Well, he was fucking pointing a gun at him. Houston was like, okay. It's just like, yeah, it's just done. He's done. There's even more stuff than that, but I need to hit stop.